Today we speak of English language. Idioms and phrases in poetry, prose, essays, and even fiction, non-fiction beautify the language, make it relevant, make it contextual. In Indian language, Hindi, there are muhavras, enrich the spoken as well as written language. We will take 6 popular phrases and idioms of English language and discuss the historical context behind it and how it originated. The first one that I will discuss with you is called daylight robbery. Daylight robbery is indicated when you see that something very unreasonable economically, or charging of a price which is not at all justified, or disregard towards law, something is being done in broad daylight. This originated in the year 1690 when a ruler, William III, imposed windows tax. William III was severely financially handicapped and was looking for new ways of raising resources for his kingdom to fight the different wars across the country and outside the country. In any house, depending on the number of windows that it has, a particular amount of tax has to be paid. Rich took the advantage of it because rich wanted to pronounce that they have arrived, so they constructed new houses with large number of windows, and they told that we are paying so much of tax to the king and we are closer to the king. But to the poor, but to the peasants, to the working class, they told that this is not only atrocious, but this is robbing of the common citizen of natural daylight. Hence the word came daylight robbery. Later on, it was used extensively in English language. Second phrase is reading the Riot Act. In the year 1714, there was a ruler who promulgated an act because he thought that the previous dynasty, that is the Stuart dynasty, was taking over the public opinion and is trying to dethrone him. So he promulgated a written quick law saying that any assembly of more than 12 people is prohibited. Whenever there is an assembly of more than 12 people, a portion of that act, which was known as the Riot Act, was read, asking people to disperse or face imprisonment. And today, reading the Riot Act, meaning whenever you wanted to warn somebody of the consequences, you said that I read the Riot Act to him. The third important thing is turning a blind eye. This happened in 1801. There was a famous British admiral whose name was Horatio Nelson. He was in history known as One-Eyed Nelson, and if you go to London, in the Trafalgar Square, there is a big pillar on which there is a statue of Nelson. Nelson was a great British warrior. There was a battle known as Battle of Copenhagen, and he had a superior whose name was Admiral Hyde Parker. Admiral Hyde Parker believed in cautious advancement, and when the war was progressing, he gave a flag signal asking Nelson to retreat and to stall his advancement. But Nelson believed that if he proceeded with pace and with aggression, then the victory will be his. He looked at the binocular when his subordinates told that the commander of the war is signaling something. He looked at the binocular and looked at the telescope, and stealthily he looked at with the eye which was blind and told that he is unable to see any signal, and ultimately he won the war by making the progression. And slyly, as historians tell, he told his subordinates that once in a while one should turn the blind eye. So it came to be known as, if you are overlooking the obvious or intentionally overlooking something which is critical, then you turn a blind eye to it. The next idiom that catches our attention is spilling the beans. Spilling the beans come from Greek civilization. All of us know that Greek civilization is one of the first civilizations which promoted democracy amongst the people. It asked the citizens to vote on a particular question of policy. People lined up, there was a vase on the table, and people will put a white bean for saying yes and a black or a brown bean for saying no. Later on, the vase was turned out and the beans were counted to count the votes. Now, there were some very enterprising kind of lawmakers who deliberately spilled the beans in order to know the results before anybody else knew. Letting out a secret before its time, telling something which is not to be disclosed, thereafter found to be expressed as spilling the beans. The other important phrase that I want to discuss today is resting on one's laurels. In Greek history, Apollo was the god of music, prophecy, and poetry. And Apollo always used a crown made of the leaves of the plant laurel on his head. Gradually, that came into the practice of honoring athletes with wreaths made out of laurel leaves, and later, even war heroes and great achievers were honored with laurel wreaths or laurel garlands. The people who are high achievers, people who are respected in the society, great thinkers, were called laureates, as we call Nobel Prize winners, Nobel laureates. Citations were given where it was told that he is such an achiever, now he is ready to rest on his laurels. It is only in the year 1800 or so that the negative connotation of not resting on one's laurels or not to get smug with temporary success or one big bit of good luck came into play. Last one that I want to leave with you is from the Shakespearean era, which is known as sea change, or a deep transformation, or a big change that has happened. Shakespeare is known as one of the most prolific wordsmiths that world has ever produced. In his plays, he created new words, new sentences, and new phrases, new idioms that are used to this date, even after 400 or 500 years. In the play Tempest, there was a character spirit called Ariel, and his master was Prospero, and master's daughter was Miranda. Ariel took Miranda near the sea where lay the Prospero, and he read a poem which gave birth to the word sea change. It read like this: "Full fathom 5 thy father lies, of his bones are corals made. Those are pearls that were his eyes. Nothing of him that doth fade, but doth suffer a sea change into something rich and strange." So this word sea change, which probably he meant that sea has changed it for better, it became that his eyes have become pearl, his bones have become coral. So these were transformative changes for the better. Today I told you some 6 idioms. English is a beautiful language. Please do explore and get enriched to use it better